Dawn the Doll delivers.
Welcome, world, to episode 3 of Concrete and Blossom Podcast, where we create change through conversation. I'm your creator and host, Dawn the Doll. And helping me plant the seeds, Successful Sis, are two amazing, successful Black women, a couple of my favorite local entrepreneurs, and also ladies in my support network. So let's start with Miss Jennifer Brooks of Gigi Sweets. Hi, Gigi.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, Dallas, this sweet tooth goddess is bringing you cakes, cobblers, and other delectable desserts. Gigi, tell us how it's been gaining support for you during 2020.
I think for me, it hasn't been too tough, especially here lately with everything going on and a lot of people migrating to support Black business. I feel like with the area that I'm in and with creating cakes, a lot of people flock to support because we have that thing in common where we just want to create or we want to make something beautiful, and they see someone that looks just like them doing the same thing. So along the lines of support, I think it's fairly easy to grasp people's attention when you're genuine with what you do.
Got it. So Gigi focuses on her passion of baking in the kitchen, but our second guest host operates in many areas from photography to event spaces to wellness. She's the creator of Honeybee Natural Wellness Magazine. She hosts the annual Affirmation Summit here in Dallas. And most recently, she launched a plant-based self-care product line for both men and women. A powerhouse, Miss Aisha Gaines. Share with us how your experience has been, especially with multiple ventures going on simultaneously.
With Aloe.Curves, it's been a little easier to gain support only because I'm providing a need and helping people directly with something that's very uncomfortable if you have feminine issues and skin issues, if you're a man or a woman. So with that business, I really didn't have to. The only thing people have to adjust to is plant-based. But once they realize that plant-based is actually a little better for their skin, especially if they have very sensitive skin, then it's kind of an easy sell. With my other businesses, photography is an easy sell because people need it. But the stuff that's surrounding mental health, the support with that has taken a lot of years because it's kind of one of those things like you don't know you need it until you need it. Which happens a lot in our community. We kind of wait to the last minute to realize, like, oh, snap, something is wrong. Like, I need to make this adjustment as opposed to doing routine maintenance. So all the things that I do attached to mental health have taken a minute for it to people to even realize what it is.
So when you take on the entrepreneurial role, right, one of the main components in gaining support is marketing your brand properly. What are some of the branding strategies, Aisha, that you use in order to cohesively represent your business?
Well, since I've been a photographer for 12 years, that's probably been the biggest thing that has worked in my favor. Photographer for 12, I think graphic designer for like 9, I don't know, 8 or 9 years. I lose track. But really making my, the things I post just look connected and cohesive, like the same person did it. That's the easiest way to kind of describe it. And for me, again, getting our communities to be open to mental health, you just got to be very specific. Like I stopped trying to use cutesy names and keywords and all that. It's just like, hey, do you struggle with anxiety? Okay, well, that's what we're going to be talking about.
I got you.
So that's been the biggest thing, being very, very specific, and then photos and graphics.
With so much of the shopping buying experience transitioning to online, social media is probably one of the biggest platforms to market your business right now. So yes, graphics definitely have a huge impact in just about any industry, right? So speaking of graphics, Gigi's social media is so lit. You would think there's an entire production team for the quality of visual branding of these desserts. Gigi, talk to us about how even in the food service industry, visual branding plays a part.
Well, one thing is incorporating myself. One thing I realized, even from day to day, like watching commercials that you see every day, is like 9 times out of 10, you're going to see a person somewhere in there, right? So I realized that people connect with people. No matter what it is that you're selling, you have to find that connection. So even if it's clothes that you're selling, you see yourself in those clothes. So incorporating myself in my brand, letting people know that I am the creator. And then that also helps them connect and know that, hey, I'm getting to know this person and what they're creating. Another thing is consistency. So whenever you do go to my page, it's consistent. You don't see one day I'm shooting in the kitchen and then you see all this stuff in the background. It's like whenever you see my pictures, you know it's me just by you always see the same background. You always see the same style of cake. So
Consistency. A quote that I use often in my education career is, "It's easier to keep up than it is to catch up." Being in quarantine has probably become a little bit easier to manage time and follow through with tasks. What are some pointers you can share with our listeners to help with consistency even past quarantine time?
so some tips that I would give is putting yourself on a schedule. So if you're one of those people that you have to have a routine, then that's going to help. If you're the type of person that needs a to-do list to get things done, like me, that's going to help because I feel accomplished whenever I'm like checking stuff off the list. I feel like I've actually done those things. So even if it comes to social media, just putting yourself on a schedule and say, hey, on Mondays, I'm going to post about this thing, or I'm going to post my work from over the weekend. Just really being intentional with everything that you do is really going to help with consistency.
So for our serial entrepreneurs, though, balancing multiple ventures, sometimes it can get like overwhelming, right? I should plant them some seeds.
Well, I mean, I think number one is being realistic. Like a lot of people there are some people who want to have a lot of things going on just because. And if that's not you, then like don't make that you because you'll get really frustrated, trying to keep up with the Joneses if that's not really you or your path. The other thing I would say is sometimes it's okay to have one account where you post daily and another account where you post every other day. Or, one business where every 2 hours you coming on and saying something, and the other business, you post when something meaningful happens in society. So just kind of sitting down and looking at it like, do I really need to be posting on this account every day? Do I really need to be doing this 5 times a week? Do I really need to be every Saturday at, making space to be at somebody's event to take a picture and post? Like actually sitting down and thinking about what each business needs. I know with my e-commerce business, I need to post a little more on that than I would Affirmation Summit because that's once a year. You know what I'm saying? So like really sitting down and thinking about what each brand means and then putting yourself on the schedule and organizing it accordingly. And I think that was probably the biggest lesson for me because every time I started something new, it's like, okay, I need to post on each one of these accounts every day, twice a day, 3 times a day. And in the end, you're going to experience burnout, anxiety, and ultimately you're just not going to be able to keep up with it. When I gave myself a realistic view of like, girl, Affirmation Summit is good every 2 to 3 days. This is fine once a month because, we only having it once a year. So
Right.
that was probably the biggest lesson for me. And like it helped me a lot just in my mental health when it comes to managing all of these things.
That's good. That's really good. I want to switch gears a bit and talk about putting these plans into actions in the modern day Black community, right? What are some of the hindrances women of color face when stepping into the entrepreneurial realm?
Just really finding that space where we fit. Even in the cake community, there are a lot of large pages or larger companies that even in this time, we've been able to see that we don't really have that support that we thought we had. Even just from a simple post of support, you don't see that. So just creating your own space, creating your own lane. Even when I first started, I was in this weird space where I'm like, okay, well, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and who determines that? So just feeling comfortable and okay with myself really gave me that confidence to be like, okay, this is my thing. I own it. I run it. And I present it as such. So that even with me being Black, I had to be okay with being Black and not try and fit someone else's mold just to fit in.
Create your own lane, then drive in it. One thing I've noticed, particularly with those 80s babies, we have a hard time grasping the concept that although our lane might look similar to someone else's, they are truly not even our competition. You're your own competition. There's such a mentality of no room for shared success.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. It turns into this like crabs in a bucket situation when realistically, if we all just come together, it's so much easier. Like there's so much knowledge to go around. It's crazy. And even myself, I came to the point of teaching what I do to enable and to inspire somebody else to be great as well. And like I said, it comes with the confidence. When you know you're great and you have this own skill that you mastered, you don't have to worry about nobody else taking anything from you because what's for you is for you. So it helps you to just be great in your own space when you don't have to worry about somebody else because they can't take what you got and you can't take what they got.
I'm originally from Houston, and I know the feelings I have about how support is given and received is much different from what I've experienced in other places. Aisha, what's it been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, being born and raised in Dallas, Dallas is kind of like big small. So it's easy to run into someone who does the same thing you do, or for someone to easily be inspired by something that you do. Again, it takes emotional maturity and kind of like maturity in business, which takes a couple of years to build that confidence and that stamina that no matter what, like I'm good, and like what Gigi said, what I have no one can take from me. And I mean that was one of my struggles for a long time, just people just being it like this way I'm doing it, so like why you do
Right.
do it how you do it, don't do it how I do it, so it
Right.
took me a minute to just, you know what, that's fine, you can have it. I'm either gonna keep doing it because I'm great at it, or I'm gonna go do something else. And so it took a lot of emotional maturity, and I probably would say I just got there within maybe the past couple of years where it's just like, okay, that's fine. Like, I'm good no matter what.
There is healthy competition, but it's a thin line for most people.
If you're looking to start a business, a good way to use your competition to your advantage is to buy from them and see how their shipping comes through, how their delivery comes through, and how their packaging comes through. So with Aloe.Curves, packaging was like the death of me for like 2 months. Like, what in God's green earth? Why is everything leaking? Why? So buying from a hair company, I ordered something in the mail through Amazon, and I analyzed the heck out of that packaging, and I saw that they were using way less than what I was using, and just how they were securing the package was different than what I thought I should be doing, and I made the adjustment. And since then, I haven't had, fingers crossed, I haven't had one complaint about the shipping. And so that's a way to use your competition to your advantage. If you're like caught up in why are they more successful? Why are they getting better reviews? Why are they blah, blah, blah? It could really boil down to like a personal note in the package, and you wouldn't even know. You know what I'm saying?
You wouldn't even know, because I know when I opened that Aloe.Curves pack, I said, girl, first of all, she must have packaged this like me because she know me or something. No, it's just standard, y'all. She just awesomely standard.
Success is like driving in this sense. I think one of the ways to not crash out is keep your eyes on your own road. Although we may have to check our rearview mirrors and take a glance briefly to check surroundings, you've got to keep your hands on the wheel that you control. So stay true to your own vision, your own mission, your purpose.
Purpose is everything. And a lot of people don't know how to get to purpose, and a lot of people don't know what their purpose is. And sometimes you got to do multiple things to even figure out what that is. Like I can see in all the things that I've done, the wellness piece, but I didn't actually get the word wellness. Wellness is what I do until 2.5 years ago. And it took me doing a lot of different things and putting my energy in a lot of different things to figure out like, oh, wellness is what you do. Photography, graphic design, all this other stuff just helps you along in your purpose. Your purpose is not, to be this master photographer. Your purpose is to introduce wellness to communities who otherwise would not have heard about it or do not get introduced to it in a cool, calm way to where it's not scary. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you got somebody pointing their finger like, no, like your mental health is trash. Like nobody wants to hear that.
Of course not. Right. Of course not. And it's like you said, in many cases, it can take you trying different things in order to fully come into your own purpose. It can be quite daunting, actually, especially when we're taking those quick glances, checking those other lanes. How did that happen for you, ladies? That finding the purpose piece.
Mine was actually going to therapy, being in a really unhealthy relationship, and knowing I was normally smart enough to like put two and two together and remove myself. I couldn't get out of it. And so I knew something was wrong. Like, what is it in my mind or what's going on to where like the light bulb's not coming off and I'm not getting it? And so when I started therapy, I learned about perception and cognition, and we have a lot of thinking errors. And for me, I had a laundry list of thinking errors that was preventing me from being in healthy relationships, preventing me from moving forward in business, me catching a little attitude. You know, if somebody was in my lane, I just had a lot of different thinking errors. And once I started therapy, and my therapist, I promise you, he has never acted like this.
Oh, we have a fur baby friend joining us in the studio, y'all.
Working with my therapist and the information she introduced to me and how helpful it was to me, that's when I kind of knew, like, oh, wellness, therapy, beauty from the inside out, you know, clean eating, holistic living, as close as you can get to it. Like, me going to therapy was my aha moment.
And Gigi, with your sweets, was this like God given? How did you know for sure baking is where your purpose was?
I will not lie. It took me a minute to figure out what my passion was. Even when I graduated from high school, I literally had this conversation with my husband. He was like, well, what do you want to do now? And the first thing that comes to mind is like, okay, go to school. You have the grades, the GPA, go to school. And even once I got there, it wasn't what I wanted. I just didn't feel that urge or that unction to just want to continue in it. It was a happenstance thing that I started my business. My husband was actually encouraging me to sell cookies because I made them just because it was my mom's recipe. And once I started there, it flourished into me dabbling with cakes. And my first cake was amazing. Like, seriously, like I'd been doing it for a while, and it was kind of like, well, maybe I have something here. I showed it to somebody and they were like, can you make me a cake? And from there, it was just a snowball. It just continued to grow. And when I reflected on it, when I had that moment where I had to figure out what I wanted to do with my life next, I was literally on Google trying to figure it out.
Okay.
I actually searched. I was like, how do you figure out what your passion is? Like, I didn't even know where to start. But a few things that helped me to recognize that was the question of, what would you do for free? What do you do that makes you happy and not consider time? And when I thought about it, I'm like, I love to bake. You know, I do it because I like to make people happy. So here it is. And what really made me acknowledge that I had full faith in myself was the time I quit my job as a supervisor at a bank. And when I tell people that, it's like, you did what? People want to work at the bank and you left?
Yes, I know about that all too well. I left a 5-year career in transportation to become a teacher, and it was completely unexpected. But when you're on the right path, you do some really outlandish things that you can't even explain to yourself until much further down the road. That hindsight 2020.
It was like, yeah, I just realized that I had so much more to give. And if I took that time and invested in myself, there's so much greatness that I could achieve. And it's been nothing but mind blowing each and every day just to see what faith can do. Because had I not took that leap of faith, I would have still been in a box.
And in a box is where you do not want to be if you're wanting to be successful. So yeah, that won't work. So finally, when you're onto something and you're doing your thing, of course, there are slow seasons, there are unforeseen obstacles. How do you remain steadfast and not be overwhelmed by discouragement?
So the first thing is remembering why you even started. Even for myself, being it that I do this full time, this is what I do. I have no other means of, okay, well, this not working. I'm just going to work for somebody else. In my mind, that's not even acceptable. So I have to remember why I even took that leap to do this. Then also look at the overall picture and see what's not working, what has changed. So from that time that you were successful, everything was working, what have you done differently since then? and what's going to take you to that next level or even bring you back to where you were, whether it's your marketing has fell off or whether you're not fully invested or you having this moment mentally where it's like you're overwhelmed. I personally have had the moments where it's like, okay, this is a lot. Okay, this is a lot to keep up with. I need a moment. So whether it's taking those self-care days where I'm like, okay, I can't give to anybody today. Everything's going to resume on Monday. Just taking that time to evaluate what's really going on around you.
Yeah, I think business owners should be doing, and I hate to say should be, I think business owners should consider doing evaluations quarterly on what's working and what's not working. Because sometimes it's not that what you're doing is wrong. It's just it might need an adjustment. Like with my event space, when I was in my smaller venue, I had bookings. When I moved to my bigger venue, the bookings kind of stopped flowing. And when I consulted with my marketing guy, he said, well, all your pictures, your building is empty. It's just a big space. And I'm like, well, I'm trying to show people that it's a big open space. And he's like, well, if 90% of your viewers are visual, why wouldn't you show them what the space can do? And so when I started doing mock setups and, being I'm at everyone's event at some point, most of the time trying to get at least 2 photos so I can post it. Then the bookings started flowing because people were able to see like, oh, I didn't know I could do that with the space. Or, oh, I didn't know that there were tables in there. I didn't know that there were chairs in there. And so sometimes it's a pause where you need to be consistent and have faith. And other times it's a pivot. And I feel like the only way to know which it is to be doing those evaluations. Like in Gigi's case, if that's your primary income, you need to pivot fast. Like whatever needs to be adjusted, you need to adjust it so you can keep your income flowing. If you have like a day job like me, sometimes you can pause, and think about it for a little longer to see what you can adjust to keep the finances flowing. So it's a lot of factors, but evaluating constantly is probably key because you can actually see in whole what's going on.
That's really good. So operational evaluations are key, and so are customer evaluations because that's where the money comes in, right? When it comes to setting your standard, your price point, how?
It starts with realizing the value that you even have.
Yeah.
So with me offering cakes and goodies like that, it's perspective, right? And it's also about presentation. So for me, some people can say, oh, it's just a cake. Why does it cost so much? Right? But when you present it in a way that it's not just a cake, it's a work of art that you don't even want to cut. It's the centerpiece of your event. It's everything that you need to bring people together. It changes things. So once I realized that, hey, I have something special that's unique, that's different from everyone else, yeah, rightfully so, I'm going to charge more because it's quality. I had to realize I can't judge people's pockets, right? Mm-hmm. And I have to be okay with not being for everybody. Because when I was in that space of trying to be like flexing for everybody, like, okay, well, you can only afford $40. Okay, I'll take the $40 just to say I have an order. I shortchanged myself and I really gave my money away to people.
Right. You got to make sure you're comfortable backing your value and being able to have that conversation behind your product or your service.
If you're uncomfortable with having that conversation, like, okay, well, this is going to be this much. And when you're kind of like on the fence about it, they're going to be on the fence too.
Exactly.
So,
there's actually a lot of content out there about how to create your retail price and your wholesale price. And I know that works for e-commerce, but it also works for everything else. Like with the event space, I'll start there. I initially was asking for all the money up front, and my space is so inexpensive. It's less than $500, but people would be like, can I do a payment plan? Can I blah, blah, blah? And it's just like, what? And so I was like, let me think about this. What's the minimum amount of money I would need to pay a bill? And that's what your deposit is going to be. The rest I can get later. And so I had to look at it that way because I have bills too. So my deposits are like between $200 and $250. The rest I can wait, so if I'm in dire need of something, then I know I have, $200 on the way. With photography, kind of what Gigi said, knowing what your value is. I've been doing this for 12 years. If I wanted to charge $300 for a shoot, I could. Do I? No. But if I wanted to, I could. And if I charge that, I'm going to stand firm and like, I got 12 years in this. So you either going to pay it or I'm taking a nap on the time when you would have been taking photos. I should going to be asleep.
Right.
And with Aloe.Curves, I used the formula. I found this young lady online, and she was talking about how to make a profit. And I just went with it. And that was probably the best thing I could have ever done for myself. It boosted my confidence. And when I tell you, I hate to say I don't care, but it's kind of like I don't count people's pockets. If you need the kit that I have, this is the price of the kit. If you're not gonna pay for the kit,
then you won't be like that DJ Donnie, skin walking like a flower, inside and out, baby.
Yeah, you just won't have it. But I will say the wisdom I did have with Aloe.Curves is creating different packages at different price points. But again, my lowest package helps me if I need to buy more packaging or if I need to buy more supplies. So I priced it in a way that's still beneficial for me to where I'm not being, harmed, where I'm buying $60 envelopes rushed from Amazon and you only paid me $10 for, you know what I'm saying? So I had to do a lot of thinking and like, what does Aisha need? And this is the first business where I started out the gate like that, where I didn't have to go back, pivot, revise, rewind, take that off, adjust, draw this in. I started off how I want to finish.
Are the cake jars new for you, Gigi? Because they're about $6 per jar. So I ordered quite a few at one time. How do you go about pricing your food? Is much different from a more tangible, long-lasting product.
It was a new venture. I actually started those, I believe, say January, February, before all of this Corona business started happening. But I really started being consistent and creative with them. So it really started catching attention. With that, my price point, I based that off of what I would charge for, say, a serving of cake, which is basically 2 in that jar. But I started there. And then I also consider how much am I actually spending for these packaging, the stickers, and everything that comes with that. And also, okay, so how much am I actually making at one time? Do I have to turn my oven 50 million times, or am I able to mass produce? And how quickly am I getting this product out? Because if it's a slower process, then that whatever I'm charging you for that one jar, that's really not covering anything. So I really had to consider all of the factors and where I was at that time with my business to be able to say, okay, well, if I'm producing more, then maybe I can charge a little bit less. But if I'm only producing a few at a time, then for it to be effective, I have to charge a little bit more.
This is really valuable information. Slight recap. To be a successful sis, so you must try different ventures that make you happy, discover your purpose, and stay in that lane and recognize your increasing value along the way. Let's go.
And be excellent.
That goes both ways for the customer and customer service. Time and money are both important, so be excellent and on time, or we charging.
$1 a minute that you late. So my customer service is actually on point for everything that I do. And if I'm not on point, I put things in place to where the consumer has some power too. So if my customer service is not on point with Aloe.Curves, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a review. If I'm late to a photo shoot, I have to pay my customer back $1 per minute that I'm late. So I have things in place that actually hold me accountable. And I'm very responsive. Like my personal number, my business number, emails, DMs, whatever. I'm kind of like an open, and I think that helps people trust me a lot as well. So if I come out the gate and say, hey, feminine wash $30, I feel like people would pay it because they trust me. It's not $30, but I'm just saying they trust what I provide.
Well, I'm going to buy it. First of all, I'm going to buy it.
Just because of what I build and what I represent, people would trust. They're like, okay, Aisha, okay.
Customer service, accountability, being responsive. All these things work together to create success. Yeah. That can be an intricate process. You have to make sure that your success has a solid foundation, or it could be really challenging.
Taking pride in what you do, that comes full circle. So whether It's, being on time with giving out an invoice and keeping that communication open, and even the follow-up thereafter, just really focusing on that individual instead of basing it as a whole. Like you think you got it all together, but really focusing on each customer each time, making sure you get it right. Because once you start to let stuff fall between the cracks, and then you still got this big head, it's like, oh, I'm good. And then you start getting all of this little feedback in between. It's like, well, good, I know I'm good, but you forgot this other person over here, and now you started a whole mess that you have to clean up. So really just taking pride from start to finish with everything that you do, and staying humble. No matter how high you get, it is always the way. Always the way, because that also helps your customers really continue to connect with you and vibe with you, because you still have that mindset from when you first started. Not to say that you don't value yourself that much more, but you're still relatable.
So in episode 2, our guest host, Travis Smith, actually pointed out how within our own Black community, we're so ready to find fault and condemn. It's a cringing statement that we hear all the time. That's exactly why I don't support Black people. Thoughts, Aisha?
I have 2 things. I think if that's how you feel, like, then that's fine to feel that way. But the part that's missing is people are not honest with the business owner. And I've even been guilty of that too, where it's like, man, I probably should have purchased with somebody else. But I did not take the time to send her a personal email or text him or her to say, hey, I love the product. It smells amazing. The only thing is, when I reached out to you to follow up about my shipping and my tracking number, your email was a little off-putting, and it made me feel like I shouldn't have reached out to you. It kind of hurt my feelings. I hope you were not having a bad day. I just for future references, just for the customer experience, maybe you could put something in place where we can access our tracking numbers better, just so that business owner can know. Now, whether they're receptive or not to it, that's not your problem, but just putting it out there so that they are aware of it has been something that I try to do before I, go to social media or go write a review. I feel like sometimes people use that as control. I'm going to put this public so then I can get something free or get a discount or embarrass them or harm their business, which all deals with perception and cognition. That's why I believe everybody needs therapy. Like, everybody needs a personal therapist. But taking a moment to just let that person know. And you don't even have to be mean about it. Like, sis, I'll order again. Just look, when I reach out about this tracking thing, like, I need you to be a little more helpful. And then on the business side, I try to beat people to the punch. I actually text people when they order and be like, hey, like, how was your delivery? How was the product? Any questions, concerns, anything I could have done better? I try to beat them to it. I be looking at the delivery thing, like, oh, delivered. Like, let me send a text message and see how everything was, because I don't want no smoke. And I kind of learned that with the event space. If you give it dead air, like, you don't know what's happening in that dead air. Somebody could be festering, like, she could have sent a little follow-up text. Or, you don't even know how people are feeling. So I just try to beat them to it.
And Gigi does that same thing. I went to pick up some cake from her, and she was like, okay, I'm going to just tell you now. I'm going to make you another one. And I'm like, okay. She's like, yeah, because I wanted to do this and this different. Girl, I got that home. I was like, girl, that thing gone. It didn't even make it all the way home. So.
Yeah. And being really diligent, being just very diligent about that follow-up process, whether it's you following up with a business or vice versa, you the owner following up with somebody else. And when it comes to Black businesses, unfortunately, we've started late. You know what I'm saying? Our counterpart, they're born into money, they're born into businesses, they're born into, they ain't go to a regular school. You in the business of the aces and the triple A with 5 homeboys, and y'all graduate, y'all got 6 rental properties. So I feel like when it comes to us, we're a little late in the game, and I think we're getting better with learning about marketing, consistency, customer service and all of that. So I do see in the near future, like, us improving as a whole. But just kind of being aware, what can I do right now if I don't have a team? I can send a text, I can send an email, and that's on both sides.
It's such a two-way street, right? Gigi, can you share some inspiring thoughts with us?
I would start by saying that it's okay not to be the typical standard for a person. Like for me, when I said that I felt like I needed to go to school just because it was the right thing to do and I didn't know what else. Like there's always something else, and remembering that we are all put here for a different purpose and we all have different passions, and being okay if your passion resembles something else. Like you were saying, like you studied another person or another company to help build your own brand. Like it's okay to do that. But find that thing that makes you happy, that makes you excited, and live on purpose with that. Like don't just be a cookie cutter because it seems like it's the right thing to do. It's okay to be free and be creative.
Yeah. Most of the stuff that we're attracted to or end up doing in our adult life, we probably did it in like our childhood at some point. And I think people forget about their actual dream, like their childhood dreams and the things that come from their heart, like the things that they naturally gravitate towards. Like I used to take my mom's college papers and like put them in little stacks and be standing on a podium, like highlighting stuff. And then I look and I say something to like these fake audiences and then I highlight some more stuff. And so that's really what I do. Like I educate people on so many different things from wellness to entrepreneurship. But I think a lot of people, they forget their whys, but they veer off from who they really are because it's so easy to do that nowadays. It's so easy to get caught up in like what everyone else is doing. Like I have a student, actually, an old student, he sent me a message this morning and told me he wants to be an actor. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, boy, you saw somebody on YouTube who an actor, now you want to be an actor. When I know deep down inside, you know, you want to make jewelry. Like you want to be a singer. You want to do photography. Like you're considering being a teacher. I know these things because I've had in-depth discussions with you. And I think if people can get back to that, who they are, what's really in their heart, I think that can rid a lot of this gray area where we're wasting money, experimenting, going down paths not good for. Like I have a whole degree that I did not need to get. You know what I'm saying? Just because I taught it to myself on YouTube. Literally taught it to myself on YouTube. And so that would be the biggest thing for me. Just listening to what your body tells you what it needs in so many ways when it comes to self-care, when it comes to food, when it comes to desires, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to feeling lost. You know, most times people need some kind of awakening, a spiritual awakening, or they need to make some kind of connection. And I think if people can take a moment and listen to that, then they can get to their purpose a little faster.
Mm-hmm. Wow, ladies, this has been amazing. Let's close with Gigi first. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, I absolutely loved connecting with you guys. I think it's really eye-opening to get that feedback and the input and the stories from everybody that has different journeys. And just to be that mirror to reflect and be like, okay, this is where I am. How can I relate or how can I grow from this connection that we have? So I really appreciate, the transparency and you guys being available and open and honest with your stories that you shared.
We love you, Gigi. Aisha, my love, plant us some parting seeds until next time.
I would just say mental health is important and it's okay not to be okay. And whatever you need to do to get to a better place, reaching out to somebody, researching, talking to a therapist, even your physician to kind of get guidance on what to do, like do that. Because you can definitely go a lot further in your business if your mental health is at least balanced. And if it's off balance, you having the skills and strategies and coping mechanisms to be able to move forward will probably be my biggest thing I would want to leave.
My friend is so wise. Thanks, Aisha. We love you. So listen, listeners, Concrete and Blossom Podcast, Episode 3, Successful Sis, the seed has been planted. Now go blossom in your own lane. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. And let us hear from you on our social media, Instagram at Concrete and Blossom Podcast. We thank you so much for tuning in.
Dawn the Doll delivers.